Welcome to Gaga Knits. My name's Anita and I live in South Wales in the UK, and this is my podcast about knitting and sewing and any crafty adventures I get up to. You can find me on Instagram and Ravelry as Anita Bulb, and this is episode 17. We're in a new location today. We are in my living room because my craft room is a mess at the moment. We have had a problem with our boiler, and we have a traditional airing cupboard where we keep the towels and all the bedding, and the boiler's in there, and as we've had, the boiler needs a new part, so the airing cupboards had to be emptied, and all the bedding and towels and everything have gone into my craft room, so it's a bit of a mess. So I thought I'd bring us downstairs and we'd have a go at an episode here. Charlie's directly below you. I was hoping to film with both of us. She has been on the settee earlier, but she's got down now. I always used to say that I didn't like animals on the furniture, but since she's had bad legs and our settee is an old leather one, I don't mind her getting up because anything that makes her legs feel a bit better. Right, let's get stuck in, and to begin with I have some finished objects. In knitting first, I have finished my pom-pom blanket, my baby blanket. It's quite small, but it's really nice and soft and quite thick as well. I don't know if you can see the thickness of these funny little balls. It was really strange to knit with, but I finished it now and it's the perfect size for a pram blanket, so that should be nice and cosy for baby in the winter. I used the Woolcraft Pompom yarn where the pattern for the blanket was on the back of the ball band, but it wasn't really a pattern really, it was just telling you how many to cast on. So anyway, that's finished. That can go in my little basket of baby things. Put them over there on the chair. And this morning I've been knitting away and I have very almost finished my Anouk cardigan. I finished all the knitting, so it's all finished, and this time I've done the sleeves with the little cuff, the buttons for the cuff, and I have just over two balls of yarn left, which is over 100 grams. I used the wool of the Andes worsted in pumpkin from Knit Picks. So I don't know what I'm going to do with the two extra balls yet, but I haven't sewn any of the ends in or blocked it, and I need 12 buttons because there's 6 at the front and 3 on each cuff, so I'll have to look out for some of those. I did everything to the pattern, how the pattern told me to do everything, except when I picked up the stitches under the arm when I reconnected the yarn for the sleeves, I added 3 stitches on each side and then just decreased on the next 2 rounds just to eliminate the holes that you sometimes get on either side. I've heard people say to do that, or they've done that when they've done socks, so I thought I would give that a go, and it seems okay. I have tried it on. I was hoping to be wearing it for you today, but there's still a little bit of work to be done on it, and we've had quite a busy weekend because my cousin Nikki has been over from Canada, and so we've been going out and about with her, and she's been over for a meal, and we've been out for a meal, and we went up to visit Jodie and Matthew, so I didn't have much knitting time, but it will definitely all be finished, and hopefully I will be wearing it for my next episode. So there's that, the Anouk with the pattern over there, and I have a sort of finished object because I'm doing a So I'm making a nativity scene for Harry for Christmas, and Martin is making the stable. And I had bought some tapestry yarns second hand. Sorry, neighbours are going past. I had bought some tapestry yarn in a antique shop, and I thought I'd use that, but I didn't have quite the colours I wanted, so what I thought I'd do was use all my scrap yarn. So I've made Mary. She is supposed to have a headdress. I'm not sure what you would call that, but I didn't have enough yarn to make the headdress, and I used a different one and it looked a bit silly, so I've given her hair. But she will be having her hair cut for Christmas, but she's all right for now. This is the yarn that came with the tapestry yarn, but the other bits are just leftovers from other projects. And I've got some lots of nice leftover yarns, so it'd be quite a nice, I think it's quite a nice project to use them up in. I can make the three wise men in some sparkly yarns, and I'll just have a bit of fun playing around with it. I'm getting distracted because my neighbours are walking up and down their drive, and if they look in they'll see me talking to a camera. I feel a bit silly. So there's that, and so sorry Charlie, they are my only finished objects. I have been working on Josh's socks a little bit, where I'm mixing up the patterns, but the main body of the sock, the actual pattern, is the Spanglish Socks by Our About Yarn. And if I stretch it out you can see the pattern a bit better. And her socks are designed to be knitted cuff down, and I'm doing these toe up and two at a time. So it doesn't look like I've done that much because, well, I haven't really done that much, have I? But as I'm doing two, although it does seem to take longer, you do finish them both off at the same time, obviously, so that's a bit better really, because I usually knit away on the first sock quite happily, and then I'm a bit daunted when I come to do the second sock because it's doing the same thing over again, and I'm not very good at that. So two at a time seems to be the way forward for me. And as it was just such a plain yarn, I wanted to have some sort of pattern in it, and I'm working away on those on and off. So that's that one. And as I've nearly finished the Anouk cardigan, I am now ready to cast on my branches and buds pullover. And if you remember, sorry, it's been a bit crumpled up in my bag. And these are the yarns that I bought when I was on holiday, when we went to away in the caravan. So I usually keep the ball bands inside the cake so I don't lose them. And the yarn was from Woolcraft Flocks, where we went, where it took us so long to find their farm, and I bought her lovely yarn that is the natural colour of the sheep. So it does feel a little bit rough, but I'm hoping when I've soaked it and blocked it, I know lots of people say that about 100% yarns, so I'm hoping it'll work out with that. And as it's a winter jumper, if it is a bit scratchy and itchy, I'll wear a t-shirt underneath, so that'll be fine. I also forgot to say, when I was making the Anouk, the yarn came in 50-gram balls, and obviously a sleeve takes more than a 50-gram ball, And so when I came to the end of one ball of yarn and joined the other, I used to just tie a knot, and when I used to knit in the flat, you would knit a sleeve in the flat. So if I was running out of yarn, I would tie a knot on the end, because when you seamed it, it would be hidden in there. But when you knit in the round, there's no hiding place for a knot. So as this yarn is 100% wool, I saw on a podcast quite a while ago, and it wasn't a podcast I usually watch, so I can't remember who it was, but someone said, I'm not sure what it was called, the spit and splice, something like that, which sounds a bit, well, it is a bit revolting when you think of it, but you split the two ends and you put some spit on the ends of the two yarns, and you put them together and rub them in your hands, and the friction and the heat sort of blend the two yarns together, and then you don't have a knot. I did try and film myself doing it a little bit, doing that, sorry, to show you, and I'll put that in here. So you have your end of yarn, you have your new ball of yarn, the two ends, you just pull apart the plies, just to separate them. There's a knot in that one. Then you do the revolting bit, which is add spit. I'll do that away from camera. Then you sort of wrap them together, and then rub them between your hands quite quickly. The friction and the heat makes magic happen. Ta-da! You have a new ball of yarn and no knot. And I'm not sure if you know how to do that. I've never done it before, and I really tugged on the yarn after I'd done it, because I couldn't quite believe that it would stay together, but it seemed quite a strong join, so I'm hoping my sleeves don't unravel at a later date, so I shall test it out anyway. Crochet. I've only got one crochet project on the go at the moment, and that was the baby blanket that I was crocheting out of the Debbie Bliss Eco Baby Prints cotton. And like I say, it is lovely and soft. It's quite splitty to work with, especially in crochet, because I'm not used to crochet quite so much. And I started off crocheting, I'm all knotted up now. I was just making up my own pattern with the yarn, and I started off doing stripes, and I thought it was a bit too busy, so now I've gone into bigger stripes of colour, but I'm thinking, I think that's worse. I don't really like that block of colour altogether, so I might undo all this and go back to doing the stripes, because I think that does look nicer, and there's no point carrying on with something you don't like, and it's really easy to do, because I could just sit here, you don't even really have to be looking. So I think I'm going to undo the thick stripe and go back to the alternate stripes. I think that looks a lot nicer than that big block of colour. And that's okay, because that's just a project I can sit with on my lap in the evening, and I don't really have to pay much attention to what I'm doing. And there's no real rush to get it finished, so it was just a way to use up that yarn because I didn't really know what else to do with it. So there's that. And sewing, I haven't done much sewing since last time. I was hoping to make a dress, another Minetta dress, and I have adjusted the pattern pieces slightly, but then, as I say, the boiler broke and everything came into my craft room, and I haven't even been able to get to my table to do any sewing. But before that happened, I did do a little project, as it's my daughter's birthday next Saturday, and she asked for if I could get her a toiletry bag to take into hospital with her. So I thought I'd make one based on the project bags that I make for my craft projects. I have used lining fabric, but like you would use in a dress rather than wadding, so it doesn't stand up quite as well as a craft project bag would, but I didn't think she needed it that padded, and as it was going to be for toiletries and it hasn't got the waterproof lining, I thought she'd probably need to wash it in the machine a few more times than a project bag hardly ever gets washed, does it? So I thought the thinner lining would be better, and I put a little bird charm on the zip to go with the birds in the fabric, and I also made a little tissue cover for some tissues, and I'm going to make, if I get a chance, a little lavender bag as well to put in there. And the pattern I use to make these project bags, they're a nice size, is Sam of Betsy Makes. On her blog many years ago, she put up the instructions on how to make a project bag, and I've always used that one, and they always come out really well. So there's plenty of pictures on there, and explains, and she explains it really well how to make them. So I've made her that, and I'm hoping to get a Minetta done as soon as our boiler is fixed and I can have my craft room back. I am going to order some new jersey fabric for my next few dresses, because I want to make them out of jersey, and I have lots and lots of cotton, and it isn't summer anymore, so I'm going to get some new jersey fabrics and I will show those to you next time. So that's it, short and sweet this week. We haven't got any walkies with Charlie. She is feeling better. She's lying on the floor under you, so if you've heard any funny deep breathing noises, that's probably Charlie snoring. I'm so used to the noises she makes, I don't notice if she makes them in the background. She is getting better. She's had bad legs with her arthritis, and she's still got a little bit of a limp, and she's a bit fed up of walking at the cycle tracks. She does like going out in the van, but we don't want to have any setbacks with her, so another couple of weeks and hopefully we'll be out and about again, and I will be able to take you on walkies with Charlie. Don't want to say it too loud, otherwise I'll get her hopes up. So have a lovely few weeks, and I shall see you soon.